Welcome to Exhausted Reviews, enthusiast-focused car reviews. My name is EddieX, and today we are experiencing this absolutely epic Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. So with the Aventador, they brought a lot of changes to their flagship V12 supercar, including an all-new engine. The previous V12 actually draws lineage from the Mura, and they ran it all the way until the Murcielago LP670 SV, obviously with changes and improvements over time. But this was an all-new 6.5-liter naturally aspirated V12. Another big change was a new transmission, an ISR, automated single clutch transmission. They said it was smaller, faster, lighter than the previous E-Gear, shifts in under 50 milliseconds, faster than the blink of an eye. But even of all of those things, the Aventador wasn't a driver's car like the Huracan with the dual clutch. It was kind of big, it was challenging to drive. It really was a showcase supercar. But that makes it even more impressive that they were able to turn this platform into the SVJ, which ended up setting the production car lap record around the Nürburgring with a time of 6 minutes 44.97 seconds, beating a GT2 RS. This thing commands as much attention and presence as anything short of a full-on hypercar. And the owner, Jordan, says he gets more attention driving his SVJ than his McLaren P1. You know what's even cooler than getting to drive an SVJ today? Owning an SVJ. So let's sit down with the owner, Jordan, and talk about what it's been like to own an SVJ. All right, low baller GTR, aka Jordan.
Yeah.
What's it been like to own an Aventador SVJ?
I love this car.
You do?
Yeah, so I think the Aventador, I'm sure you remember, 2012.
Was rough.
Rough. Understeering pig.
Yes.
It was an aesthetic car.
Yep.
So
Showcase car. Yeah.
Showcase car,
yep.
for sure, right? A door-up Lamborghini. So I think the SVJ is so cool because it was, it was a force to be reckoned with on the track. I think it held, what, track record?
Nürburgring, yeah, I was just saying that.
Yeah, 2 or 3
beat
years.
a 2RS.
Yeah, so I mean, you gotta appreciate the hell out of that,
for that. Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's the ultimate Aventador, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that's why I love it so much.
What do you love about it the most, if you had to pick one thing?
It's so, cliche to say it, but the exhaust note.
Yeah.
It just sounds
But
incredible.
you've done something to exhaust, right? This is not stock.
No, it has a brilliant exhaust on
Okay.
it, out of Japan. I love the exhaust, though. It just is like the sonic boom.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, man.
What made you pick that over a Gentani and all the other options out there?
So I really liked it because it didn't drone in the cab.
Okay.
So if you ever see the exhaust, it's this crazy cylinder with the exhaust is cut like a pie, in half. I don't know what's in there. I tried to buy a cam to scope it because it was such a unique design, but no drone.
Okay.
I thought that was one of the best parts about it, but it screams like an animal
insane.
at wide open throttle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you don't like about the car?
That's a great question.
Yeah. What do you hate about your SVJ?
Yeah, sure. That's actually a great question. I don't love the sport seats. I know that aesthetically I love the way they look, but the sport seats are just the back, the way it's fixed for me. I'm just kind of a big torso guy. It's a little uncomfortable.
I think that's been an issue with Lamborghinis overall. Their carbon buckets are torture devices. Porsches are great once you get in.
Yep.
Ferrari ones aren't bad, but these, I've heard they're not comfortable.
So they're different than the Huracan Performante, which is literally sitting in a banana as far as shape. You're shaped like a candy cane sitting in that thing, bro. So these are actually better.
Okay.
But still, for I would say if you're over 5'10", you should probably do the comfort seats.
Okay.
That's about the only thing I can really fault the car for.
I drove a SVJ Roadster years ago when it was brand new. And I remember it was not the most comfortable, and I remember my head sticking out the roof, but that was just an issue of being tall.
Yeah.
But I didn't spend enough time to kind of really get in it, because you drove this all the way to the car week, so you've put miles.
Yeah, we put a lot of miles on it. We drove this car from New York to Miami on a rally once.
Dang, okay.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Took it to Roebling Road Raceway, so this car's been on the track a couple times.
Nice.
But yeah, I've drove this thing, man.
Probably used it, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been.
But long
used.
road trip wise, how was that comfort?
About 200 miles out of New York, I was like, this is a mistake. Yeah, we should have brought the E63. Yeah.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, mistakes were made.
You gonna keep it, or because the interesting thing about this is it's not technically the ultimate one, because they went with the Roadster and then you have the Ultimate.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So I think I'm gonna keep the car.
Okay.
It's a 2-part question. So yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it. And the other thing is, the Roadster, definitely a lot more hardcore with the way it looks with the top off.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
But I think that the real purest car is the coupe.
Okay.
This is my hot take, in my opinion,
yeah.
right? The Ultimate is fantastic. It's an SVJ powertrain, but you get the carpet, so it kind of goes back
into
into
SVJ touring. That's what I call it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a great analogy. Yeah. So it's going to be that more of a Grand Tour.
Yeah.
But I think this is the last super hardcore Lamborghini that's internal combustion only that we're going to see, and I think that's why they're important.
Why do you think they're worth so much more than Ultimates though? Because when I was doing the research looking at market prices, Ultimates are probably like 100 grand less.
Yeah, so I think I would say probably some of that just like gnarly exterior aero. You know?
It needs the big wing, right?
Yeah,
to
it
be
does.
a proper Lambo.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what does it, dude. Is just I want to say bland, but how stock an Ultimate looks.
That's true, because technically if an Ultimate went by and an Aventador S went by, you might not tell the difference between the two of them.
No,
but
you
an
really,
SVJ, you know is an SVJ.
You know what's up, man.
So now that you have a P1, because you know there's a fantastic,
Yeah.
gorgeous P1 sitting behind us.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this thing?
Two very different cars.
Yeah.
You know, I don't just love to like be comfortable. I love enthusiast cars, visceral cars, and that car is like this, right? So the P1 rides fantastic because of the accumulators.
Yeah.
The hybrid powertrain provides that nice down low power. So like they're two super different cars.
Okay.
But when I want to like, get out of a car and like I had to work a little bit, I still really love the
Still
SVJ.
enjoy it. So
I
it's
do.
still raw and engaged.
Oh my God, crazy.
The P1's brutal too. That thing,
It is.
I think it's the most exciting car at all speeds. At no moment are you gonna be like, I can just relax for a bit. I love this car. Like
Same,
it's
man.
such. I'm so happy you're able to get one.
Thanks, dude. I
Of course
appreciate
it's
it.
black, you know.
Yeah, it's a slimming
You do
car.
have a slimming car. Is that why?
It is why.
I
It
see.
shaves 40
I
Ps.
see. So obviously you've had some pretty cool cars and have some pretty cool cars.
Yeah.
What do you think made it possible for you to have a career, be so successful that allowed you to be able to get cars like this? If you had to pick one thing.
I would say one thing, if I could give any advice, is that people buy from people they like.
Okay.
And that is not something I think that gets talked about enough. People get so obsessed with academics, which are really important, but people buy from people they like. So just that,
Be a good person.
Just be a good person, dude, and just do the right thing. And I think really everything else will follow.
Yeah. Good advice from a guy who's got a pretty. I love your collection. It's
Thanks,
so
dude.
cool. Although,
Yeah.
one final question related to an SVJ.
Yeah.
Have you driven a Revuelto?
I have not.
How do you feel about it? Like, do you have any interest?
So at first I was like, and then, but then, man, the shorter stroke of that V12, I don't know if you've heard the exhaust on them yet.
I have.
I
with
mean,
an aftermarket too. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, and the hybrid is just the future.
Yeah.
So I think these cars are special because this tech will be old, this hybrid tech.
It already is old.
Yeah.
It's a 10-year-old car, which
Yeah.
is kind of crazy.
But they'll stay special.
Yes, 100%.
Whereas I think that I just get so nervous with any modern day hybrid until like solid state battery technology kind of takes off.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be like laptops. So like I love it so
gonna
much.
keep iterating,
yeah.
yeah.
And then I just think that kills value,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Right?
You know what's funny now? Before you bought this, you probably could have been one of those hybrid haters, be like, "Oh, EVs suck," and now you really can't because you'd be a hypocrite.
Yeah, I would be a hypocrite. I think that, dude, I think it's awesome. The torque fill that this car does is different than anything else. It's like a two-stroke dirt bike. It has to be up top to make
The
power.
download, there's nothing happening.
It's gutless.
Yeah.
So, it really kind of makes you like raise your eyebrow to like, maybe there is a place for this to exist.
Yeah,
You know?
for pure performance, because the Revuelto, they don't care about efficiency. Even like the E-Ray, right? It's not like, oh, MPGs are so much better now.
Yeah.
It's let's make the car way freaking faster, more visceral, right?
And if you can add that speed without the weight of the hybrid system,
That's
which
true.
solid state batteries should really help with that.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the future looks pretty bright. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that right now, but it looks
Optimism.
good.
Optimism.
Optimism. Yeah.
we still love this SVJ after how many years have you had it?
Frick, man, I think I got this thing in 2000 and early 20.
So this was probably your peak car for a bit.
Oh yeah, dude, for a bit.
Yeah.
I had an Aventador S actually
Okay.
before this. Full disclosure, but I just love. I mean, I still love this car.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is 5 years old. I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I'll probably have it for a long time.
Good.
Yeah.
Last ultimate crazy V12. I'm excited to go try it out and really excited to see hear the brilliant exhaust.
Oh, it's
'cause
fantastic.
I've heard it from outside.
Yeah.
Did a quick little ride in Monterey during Car
Yeah,
Week
dude.
last year.
That's right.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited
Yeah.
to go take this thing for a spin.
No problem, dude.
Congrats on the P1, but also congrats on being able to have an SVJ because it's pretty awesome.
Thanks, dude.
Low Baller GTR. As you can see behind us, there are lots of cool cars, including ACR Neon.
Yeah.
The Honda Civic.
Yeah.
A 996 Turbo. But
Yeah.
then further back,
A little bit of-
RWB, R34, HKS, R33. Yeah.
A little bit of everything, dude.
If you had to pick your favorite car in the collection, could you?
Yeah,
You can't say the P1.
no. I would probably say the most special car to me is the HKS car,
R33?
the 33.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
just
one
being involved in that car was really fun. And then, quite frankly, the relationships I got to have with HKS after have been like invaluable and just
You've
so
got
cool.
like 4 of them now, don't you? Or 3 of them?
Three,
You bought the
yeah.
the Supra,
Supra, the GR,
the GR.
the 33, and then hopefully the new Civic Type R. Ooh. So that'd be the next one I'd love to grab from them.
Yeah, man. You're gonna need to add a triple layer stacker above because you are out of space, my friend.
I'm out of space, dude. Big time.
The Z06 is out front right now. All these cars are scattered everywhere. First world problems. All right, thank you, Jordan. Always a pleasure.
Of course, bro.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude.
All right, the powertrain in the SVJ, this 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 revs to 8,700 RPM, and it makes 759 horsepower and 531 pound-feet of torque. In the scheme of the Aventador V12, this is obviously going to be one of the more powerful ones, although the Ultimate is more powerful by an extra 10 horsepower. It makes 769 horsepower. Compared to the Aventador SV, that made 740 horsepower and 509 pound-feet of torque, so they did up it for the SVJ. And when the Aventador first came out, the LP700 was just at 690 horsepower. So this has plenty of horsepower, but compared to the Revuelto, the replacement for the Aventador, that has gone hybridized. Luckily, it still has the naturally aspirated V12 that now makes 814 horsepower on its own, but because of the electric motors on the Revuelto, power has really skyrocketed. It's 1,001 horsepower and 783 pound-feet of torque. But I have a feeling that no matter that, the SVJ is never going to feel slow at all because, I mean, it's nearly 800 horsepower naturally aspirated V12. They are all-wheel drive only, that 7-speed single-clutch transmission, and the SVJ has added rear-wheel steering. The Aventador SVJ did make a change to the typical product cycle that we would see for these V12 Lamborghinis. Usually we would get the regular production run, and then they would cap it off with a special, more hardcore limited version called the SV Super Veloce. They had that with the Miura, the Diablo, the Murcielago, and there was an Aventador SV, but then instead of getting a next generation, we got the Aventador S, which kind of confused some people, but there was precedence for that. We have had S models on the Lamborghini range before, but then we got the SVJ. And what does a J stand for? It's Jota, which is track focused. There was a Miura and a Diablo, I believe, with that nomenclature, so SVJ is supposed to be even more hardcore track focused. But then the SVJ did not ultimately end the run either. There was the Ultimate, final version of the Aventador that was a bit more limited than the SVJ. Similar powertrain layout, but it did not have the crazy aerodynamics. It was kind of like a SVJ touring of sorts. But in terms of the styling, the Aventador, any Aventador looks pretty crazy, and SVJ is just next level aggression. You can see the aero, the track focus they did, changing from the Aventador SV. Personally, I think the SV looks a bit more clean and simple looking, equally aggressive, but the SVJ is just the next level. We have these like nostrils up front on the front bumper. It's for the ALA system. We'll talk about that, the aerodynamic channeling on the SVJ. Center lock wheels, the more aggressive front splitter with these built-in integrated side triangles on. This one is finished in black because Jordan has a thing for black cars. It's slimming, like he said, right? But in Skittles colors, they look amazing. In black, they look menacing. They're just absolutely ridiculous. And of course, we have these scissor doors, a signature V12 Lamborghini trait. They still open relatively vertical on the Aventador. On the Revuelto, they keep going a little bit further outward to make it easier to get into. You have the Lamborghini Y motif all over this thing, the hexagons, all their design cues. They just put it all over this car. Obviously, mid-engine layout with the massive V12 back here. The engine compartment doesn't hinge. It's like a race car. We had to like lift it off, but you can see that V12 hiding underneath there, and it's just vents and carbon fiber intakes, enormously wide side intakes here. The gas cap is a hexagon. We have Italian tricolore flag decals all over it too. And the wing. This wing is properly crazy. It's got 3 posts, and the way it kind of angles out with the wings on the side too, all in carbon fiber with ALA, Aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva. I think that's what it stands for, ALA 2.0. That system debuted on the Huracan, and it's this crazy torque or air vectoring system where it has flaps that can open and close to channel air in different places. So up front, it can channel air up, and then out back, it can essentially like stall the wing and direct up to 20% of the aero load to either side. So at higher speeds, you can actually feel the aero vectoring. I myself have never driven an SVJ fast enough to feel that, but I've talked to people who've tracked them. They say you can actually feel the ALA system working, but this rear wing is pretty crazy. It's actually filled with a lot more technology. It's not just a gigantic wing sitting on the back of it. And then around back, we have the dual exit center exhaust. They shifted it upward. They say it's lighter and also it's shorter because there's less distance between the engine and the exhaust, which also makes room for a just absolutely ridiculous rear diffuser, tons of carbon fiber. This is peak Aventador, peak Lamborghini V12 in terms of the styling, the presence, everything. Honestly, when you roll up in an Aventador SVJ, unless somebody's driving like a Bugatti Chiron, you're gonna get the front row spot at the valet. Time to go for a drive. Door opens up, go ahead, step in. Takes a little bit of acrobatics to crawl in, especially when you're above 6 feet tall. Flip up that red cover for the start stop button. Ready? Let's put the windows down. Parking brake off. Pull the right paddle, there's first gear, and we are ready to go. Driving the SVJ. Today's experience is going to be the SVJ in the real world. We're not going off to the canyon mountain roads. We're not on the racetrack, obviously. So what is it like to drive this flagship V12 Lamborghini in the real world? What is it like around town? But obviously we're gonna have a bit of fun, get on it. I'm gonna go ahead and toggle into not Sport, Corsa, Ego mode. Ego mode is the customization mode for setting up everything the way you want. So it's not an indication about what it takes to own a Lamborghini. You don't need a massive ego. Jordan obviously is very humble and a great guy. We have Strata, Street, Sport, and Corsa going up in intensity. It's still here. Like, I know some of the newer ones, they've gone to toggling on the steering wheel. The turn signal is an actual stalk down here. On the Huracan, they've gone to, on the steering wheel, a little toggle button. Oh, this exhaust is going to sound utterly insane. Oh yeah. And honestly, just driving, leaving this parking lot right now, the park we were at, the drivability of this car has so vastly improved. That's gotta be one of the most impressive aspects. Oh my gosh. The drivability of this transmission is so impressive. When the Aventador first came out, the single clutch, it was better than E-Gear, but it was still just jerky and just not smooth. It was not an enjoyable, easy driving experience. It felt like a chore. It was work. It was engaging. It was exciting. It was raw. It would kick you in the back of your head, right? It was like, that's what they were going for. But in terms of just like using it for a car, it kind of sucked. So the fact that now this, again, still architecture, the same transmission, just tuning and little changes to the software calibration, like, it's a lot better. You still have a little bit of that wave motion when you're shifting. It's just inevitable with a transmission setup like this, but you get kind of, it is more civil, but it's also much more visceral than a dual clutch, which can be much smoother. Honestly, with the dual clutches, they program in a little bit of a kick, just so you have a bit more of the excitement. What am I doing? I should just leave the windows down, right, guys? The windows should just be down for this whole drive. Wind noise be damned. Holy crap, that noise is ridiculous. So we have a brilliant exhaust on this car. SVJs and exhaust are another level of noise. This is what Formula One cars should still sound like this. I wish they still sounded like this. Ooh, the pops. Let's talk a bit more about some aspects of the interior. This infotainment system is hilarious. This is an old Audi MMI system. And it does have CarPlay now. So the SVJ does have CarPlay. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have Bluetooth audio, but you do have CarPlay. And Lamborghini was very generous. They made CarPlay a free option. Ferrari loves to charge for CarPlay. We have a smattering of buttons. It feels very interesting, right? It's just this crazy layout of buttons, like the toggles here for everything, your front lift, ESC off, auto stop start. This thing has auto stop start, windows up and down. You would definitely tell that your 6.5 liter V12 decided to turn off, so you always got to turn auto stop start off. Ah, the noise! Goodness. I had a lot of intelligent thoughts and notes to talk about, and they've kind of all exited my brain after that mild acceleration. Holy crap. Whew. The graphics are really cool on the full digital cluster too here. So we have the massive tachometer right across the top. That's obviously one of the most important things when you're driving this car. And then the big gear indicator. But then below that, there's graphics for your ALA system with a bunch of Italian that I can't read anything. But it tells me Modalità ALA on. And I think it's showing where the air is currently being vectored around the car. Carbon ceramic brakes, obviously going to stop the car very strongly. The fixed paddle shifters here. Steering wheel is actually relatively simple in comparison to some of the newer stuff, right? We don't have a bunch of little toggles and dials and rotating little bits. Just volume up and down. Looks like something to start the voice commands. Like, it's much more simple. The doors are all carbon fiber with the little leather pull strap right here, just like Porsche 3RS, like GT cars, race car things, right? It's lighter weight. You have to pull this little toggle here to get out. And it's all just carbon fiber, more carbon fiber here. Parking brake, reverse, that's your manual control. And then this is the interface with the, again, ancient Audi MMI system. This definitely shows its age. The Revuelto has gone a huge step forward, as will the Temerario. That's the whole new system, much more modern. But this has character because of that. Crazy, oh my God. What in the world? Let's talk about the value. Obviously, SVJs were pretty expensive when new, about $600,000 depending on options. Obviously, ad personam would add more. Roadsters are going to be a bit more expensive. But the thing was, in terms of the production run rarity, SVJs actually aren't that limited compared to some other similar final edition, those kind of things, right? So the coupes, they built 900. You see the 1 of 900 badge right there. They're not individually serialized. It's just 1 of 900. 900 coupes, additional 63 special 63s, and then there were 800 roadsters built. So that's, call it 1,700 cars total. If you look at the Murcielago SV, they built 186. So SVJs were just orders of magnitude more built than the previous Murcielago SV, but also the Aventador SV. And then they did another special edition of the Ultimate on top. There were 600 Ultimates built. I think it was 350 coupes, 250 roadsters. So these final special Aventadors, there were a lot of them. And then there were even more special, like few offs, right? The Centenario, things that were built off of the Aventador platform, but different bodywork, a little bit more bespoke, and obviously a lot more expensive. So in the scheme of things, SVJs actually aren't that rare, but it's interesting that the desirability, how epically cool and badass these are, made the prices hold and go up. An SVJ, a good one, is still $700,000 these days for a coupe. Roadsters are going to be more expensive depending on miles, condition, spec. They are starting to drop a little bit, so the bottom of the market is maybe getting into the 500-600s range. And another really interesting thing I noticed is Ultimates are a bit cheaper than SVJs, even though you technically have the same engine. It's more rare, more desirable because it's the final, the ultimate Aventador, the final special edition. SVJs command a bit more of a price premium, and I think that is just perception. They're a bit more popular on social media among owners. They're a bit more wild and extreme, a bit more hardcore. But if you want this experience and you're looking for a bargain, it's hard to say bargain when these are still $600,000-$700,000 cars. The Ultimate could be a very, very good option. But regardless, I think the SVJ is a ultimate V12 Lambo you could buy, own, drive, and not worry too much about the rarity and depreciation, because they did build a lot more. Murcielago SVs, I mean, there are barely any of them out there. You rarely see one because they're so rare. Diablo SVs, other ones, as you go further and further back, they just didn't have the production numbers, and they're becoming more and more valuable, and people may start just leaving them into collections, museum pieces. There are still going to be those baller owners who just drive them and not worry about mileage whatsoever. But the Aventador SVJ is a car that you could do more with, have more fun with, and not worry about it as much in that regard. A couple other thoughts on what this thing is like to drive. It makes more downforce than the Aventador SV, 40% more downforce. I'm not feeling that at the speeds we're going. This thing will do 217 miles an hour. We are not doing that right now in Arizona. 0 to 60, 2.8 seconds, which is brutal. Even more crazy, 0 to 124 in 5.8 seconds. So you're doing 124 miles an hour in the time typical cars are barely hitting 60 miles an hour, quarter mile in the low 10-second range. They stiffened the anti-roll bars. I think it's like 50% stiffer than the SV to, again, make it handle better. And this is a truly capable car in terms of driving dynamics on the track. It still feels wide. It is hard to see out of. I am just scrunched down right now to try to see the traffic lights here from the very angled raked windshield. I'm actually getting quite warm. I'm gonna go ahead and put the windows down again. It's this way. Keep flipping which way the toggles are. Dear God. Oh my God. And just like that, the other thoughts I had talking about some other driving aspects have just gone. All the technical facts have just exited my head. Yeah, this is just a proper poster car. I drove an Aventador SVJ Roadster many years ago when it first came out, and it was fun, but I didn't get to really push it that much. It had a stock exhaust with an aftermarket exhaust. The way this thing screams, and after driven so many other cars in between, I think I have more context now experiencing cars like this. I'm honestly quite impressed at the usability of and the drivability. That being said, usability is maybe not as ideal. These seats aren't very comfortable. These carbon buckets they're not very adjustable. I don't fit. My head is touching the ceiling. Visibility still kind of sucks. The infotainment is a hilarious joke, but you don't care about any of that. This car is about the drama, the noise, and I don't know if the Revuelto can capture this. I haven't gotten to experience one. I'm sure it's faster. But that being said, we are going to get other special versions of the Revuelto. So if you're looking to shop for something like this, you want a V12 crazy Lamborghini experience, I think an SVJ is a better buy than a Revuelto. Yeah, the Revuelto's dual clutch, newer tech, new interiors, the latest greatest thing, but they're going to depreciate because we're going to get a Revuelto S, a Revuelto SV, a Revuelto Roadster, right? SVJ, whatever they're going to do. We're just at the very beginning of that product cycle. Whereas this is the pinnacle, final, naturally aspirated only V12 Aventador generation here. And oh boy, is it a fun experience around town, just seeing what it's like. Thank you again to Jordan, Lowballer GTR, for making this possible. This is just an absolutely epic car. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick review of the Aventador SVJ. Thanks for watching.